Joining me now is former Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner, currently running for Texas' 18th Congressional District, and Erica Lee Carter, currently running in the 18th District's upcoming special election to finish her mother's term. Mayor Turner and Ms. Carter, thank you both for joining us tonight at the end of this momentous week. Let me start with you, Ms. Carter. I've talked to your family just before your mother passed away last month after battling cancer. Just 2 days later, her close friend and Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority sister, Kamala Harris, declared her presidential candidacy, and she attended your mother's funeral later that week, where you all graciously had her speak among some of us. On Thursday, Vice President Harris accepted the Democratic nomination, a watershed for millions of women, black women in particular, including those that never lived to see it, like your mother. But before we get into the weight of this moment, tell us about your campaign to serve out the rest of your mother's term as you prepare for this November special election.
Thank you, Reverend Al, and thank you for your longtime friendship with my mother, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. I want to finish what my mom fought so hard for, and that's to always serve the people of the 18th Congressional District, to stand up for America, to stand up for justice, stand up for our children, including her wonderful grandchildren. She considered all children her children, and the bills she sponsored, whether working on the Violence Against Women's Act, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, and supporting funding that would help our community, whether it's recovering from disaster or building housing. I want to just help finish, support Leader Jeffries, and give the District 18 residents their vote back in the Congress.
Now, Mr. Turner, after serving 2 terms as Houston's mayor, you became the Democratic nominee to succeed Congresswoman Jackson Lee earlier this month. Talk about her legacy in Houston and tell us about your campaign to pick up her torch in January, which is when Ms. Carter's special term would end.
And thank you, Reverend Al. And I would tell you that the Congresswoman has a very strong legacy. I mean, she was active on the Hill, but she was even more active on the ground in the 18th Congressional District. There was a moment people thought, could Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee follow effectively in the shoes of Barbara Jordan and Mickey Leland and Craig Washington? Well, she's answered that time and time again. She seemed like could be everywhere and meet the needs of people in her district. She knew them by name, and they knew her. They saw her on the ground. If you needed help, whether you were in her district or not, she was responsive to their needs. So you can't replace a Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. You can only hope to follow her, carry out her legacy, and continue to do the work.
Now, back to the weight of this moment, Ms. Carter. The vice president seldom talks about her race or ethnicity, the history she's already made, or the history she could make in November. But as you watched her make history Thursday night, history that your late mother, a trailblazing black woman, did not live to see, what goes through your mind?
I certainly teared up. I was in the United Center. I had to be there for myself, of course, and my mother, knowing that my mother always believed that the arc bent towards justice, and seeing women who have been the backbone of the Democratic Party rise to be not only, she did see her be vice president, which made her so proud. And as the leadership that she showed, my mother worked with her. And she always held in her heart that Kamala Harris would go further. And so whether she was there directly in person, I felt her, and I felt that she is lifting us up in this moment. And like Michelle Obama said, calling on all of us to do something, including myself.
Now, while there's still time, we're running short on time, Mr. Turner, the vice president and other DNC speakers pounded Trump for sabotaging bipartisan border security, the bill that failed in the Senate earlier this year because Trump wanted the border issue to campaign on.
Right.
Now the vice president says if elected, she's reviving it and signing it. As a former border state mayor, you dealt with the impacts of migration on one of the largest cities in Texas and called on Congress to take action. What's your reaction to the vice president's campaign pledge?
Look, I couldn't agree with her more. This was a bill that was supported by conservatives. They wanted it. And it would have made a tremendous impact on addressing the immigration crisis. Trump didn't want it. He called senators, told them not to do it, and they did not do it because he did not want it to serve to minimize his campaign strategy. I am solidly in support of Vice President Kamala Harris in her position, and I look forward to being there right with her, to support it, to vote for it, and to make a huge difference, not only for border states, but for states all throughout the United States.
Well, let me say I'm sure that Congresswoman Lee is very proud of you, Erica, and Jason, your brother, and all of those that continue in the family to keep her dream and her efforts alive. Former Mayor of Houston, Sylvester Turner, and Erica Lee Carter, thank you both for being with us.